You don't lose control all at once. It happens in a single second. One word, one look, one message that lands wrong. And before you even decide how to feel, you've already felt it. Your chest tightens, your voice changes, your body reacts faster than your thinking ever could. And later, when it's over, you sit there and wonder the same thing every time. Why did I react like that? Let me make this concrete. It's 6:40 in the evening, you've been awake since 5. Someone sends you a message, 3 words, no punctuation. We need to talk. Nothing has happened yet. No information has arrived, and already your stomach has dropped. You've written 4 replies in your head, and you've constructed an entire conversation that does not exist. 20 minutes later, you find out they wanted to move a meeting. That's the whole problem in one moment. Your reaction didn't come from the event, it came from somewhere else entirely, and it arrived before you did. Here's what nobody explains properly. You were never in control of the emotion. You were only ever in control of what came after it. Emotions don't start in the part of your brain that reasons. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent decades mapping this, and what he found is that threat signals reach your amygdala through a fast, crude pathway before the slower, more accurate route through your cortex has finished processing what's happening. Your body is already responding to a threat your thinking mind hasn't finished identifying. Daniel Goleman later gave the everyday version of this a name: the amygdala hijack. That gap where the emotional brain has acted and the thinking brain hasn't caught up yet. So when people tell you to control your emotions, they're asking for something the architecture doesn't allow. You can't control what starts. You can only control what you do with it once it's already here. And this is where most people go wrong. They think control means suppression. Stay calm. Don't show it. Push it down. Act like nothing happened. But suppression doesn't remove an emotion. It relocates it. James Gross at Stanford has built most of a career on this distinction. In his studies, people told to hide their emotional expression while watching distressing footage showed more physiological arousal, not less. Their heart rate and skin conductance went up. They also remembered less of what they'd seen because holding the mask took the attention they needed for everything else. On the outside, nothing is happening. On the inside, everything is, and it's costing you. So the anger you didn't express becomes tension in your shoulders. The sadness you didn't feel becomes exhaustion you can't explain. The frustration you swallowed at work becomes irritation at someone who did nothing wrong. Nothing disappears, it just waits. But here's the part that changes everything. Emotions were never the problem. Emotions are information. Anger tells you a boundary was crossed. Anxiety tells you something matters to you. Sadness tells you something was lost. Guilt tells you your actions and your values drifted apart. These aren't malfunctions. This is a system doing exactly what it was built to do. The problem was never that you feel too much. The problem is that you obey the feeling instantly without ever reading what it's actually saying. So if control isn't suppression, what is it? It's the space between the feeling and the response. Go back to that message. We need to talk. The fear wasn't irrational, it was pointing at something real, that you'd been carrying a low, constant worry about that relationship for weeks and never once looked at it directly. The message didn't create the fear, it just switched the light on. That space already exists, it's just very small right now, sometimes half a second. And in that half second, everything is decided. Whether you say the thing you can't take back, whether you send the message, whether you become someone you'll have to apologize for later. Every technique that has ever worked comes down to one thing: making that space bigger. But there's a deeper question underneath all of this. Because the real question isn't how do I control my emotions? The real question is, why do I need control in the first place? Sit with that. A mind that's already steady doesn't need to be controlled. Control is what you reach for when something inside you is already unregulated. When you're running on 4 hours of sleep, when you've been carrying something for weeks and telling everyone you're fine. Most of what people call an emotional problem is actually an accumulation problem. You didn't snap because of what happened today. You snapped because of what happened today plus everything you never processed before today. That's why the reaction never matches the trigger. Someone says one careless thing and you respond like they attacked you because they didn't hit the trigger, they hit the pile. And the pile has been growing quietly because you kept telling yourself each individual thing was too small to deal with. So the first real step isn't a breathing technique, it's emptying what you're already carrying. Something strange happens when you name an emotion accurately. Not "I feel bad," not "I'm stressed." Something specific. "I feel dismissed. I feel unprepared. I feel like I'm falling behind and pretending I'm not." Matthew Lieberman's lab at UCLA scanned people while they did exactly this, putting a word to a feeling. They called it affect labeling. When people labeled the emotion, amygdala activity dropped, and the prefrontal cortex, the part that regulates, became more active. The naming itself did the work. And here's what's strange about it. The participants didn't expect it to help. When asked beforehand, most people rate labeling as one of the least useful things you could do. It works anyway. You're not fighting the emotion. You're translating it. And once something has a name, it stops feeling infinite. Try it on the message. Not "I feel awful." Try "I feel like I'm about to lose something I haven't admitted I care about." Different sentence, different nervous system. The second thing people get backwards is the order. They try to calm the mind first, but the mind is downstream. When your body is in a stress state, your thoughts will be produced by that state. You cannot think your way into calm while your nervous system is still preparing for a fight. So you go the other direction. Slow the exhale. Longer out than in. Unclench the jaw. Drop the shoulders. Feel your feet on the floor. This isn't a relaxation ritual, it's a signal. Your heart rate rises slightly on the in-breath and falls on the out-breath. So when you deliberately make the exhale longer than the inhale, you're pulling on one of the few levers you have direct access to. Controlled breathing studies find it measurably shifts you toward the calming branch of the nervous system, and it works within minutes, not weeks. You're not pretending to be calm, you're telling your body the emergency is over. And when the body settles, the thoughts change on their own. Not because you argued with them, because you removed the state producing them. The last one is the simplest and the hardest. Delay the response. Not forever. You'll hear people claim an emotion chemically clears your body in exactly 90 seconds. That number gets repeated a lot more confidently than the evidence supports, but the underlying observation holds, and you can test it yourself. The initial surge is far shorter than the feeling. What keeps it alive is not the chemistry, it's the story you keep telling about it. So you don't reply immediately, you don't decide immediately, you let the wave pass and then you choose. And what you'll notice over time is that the version of you that responds 2 minutes later is almost always the version you'd want to be. That person was there the whole time. They just kept arriving too late. And slowly something changes. You still feel everything. The intensity doesn't disappear, and you wouldn't want it to. Because the same sensitivity that makes emotions loud is what lets you read a room, sense a shift, care about things properly. But now there's a gap between the feeling and the reaction, between the impulse and the choice. And in that gap, you stop being something that happens to you and start being something you're actually inside of. So the message arrives again, we need to talk. Your stomach still drops, that part doesn't change, and it isn't supposed to. But this time, you notice it. You put a word to it, you breathe out longer than you breathed in. You don't reply for 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, nothing dramatic happens. There's no transformation. You just stay in the room with a feeling instead of being carried out of it. That's the whole thing. That's all it ever was. Not a technique you master, a gap you widen. One uncomfortable moment at a time, until the person who shows up 2 minutes late starts showing up on time. He was always the one you meant to be. You were just never awake for the first 2 minutes.